Hello everybody, Mannix here. It is time for another classic tabletop knife review. If you like knife reviews, like knife videos, EDC videos, flashlights, lighters, etc., please feel free to subscribe. I got plenty more, and I upload weekly now. Thank you so much for watching. Let's get right into this. Byrd Cara Cara 2 in G10. Plain edge, regular leaf-shaped blade, or clip blade, whatever you want to call that. I'm going to call it a leaf-shaped blade. The standard classic Byrd Cara Cara. And I say that because they also sell this with the Wharncliffe blade, which I have, but that's only currently on the FRN, the lightweight version. I don't think there's a variant for the G10 version that you're seeing right here. But this is a really awesome EDC knife. If you like lockbacks, you like longer folders, it's not super big or anything, but it's a long folding knife. You know, people see this, they're going to see you got a knife in your hand. Very capable knife, a lot of handle to hold on to right here. Different positions you can go in. It's a long folding knife. Very versatile, good weight on it, good strength, good blade steel, decent price overall. It kind of knocks everything out of the park. It checks off all the boxes for a decent EDC blade that pretty much everyone will like and be able to carry under most circumstances. That's just what this knife is right here. There's just no obvious complaints I have about it. I like basically everything about it. Again, I can't think of a single thing. I'm like, oh man, this thing sucks, I gotta fix it. Honestly, I can't. It's very good. It ticks off all the boxes. It may not be the most exciting knife. No, there's nothing that really stands out about it, but it's a user. It's a very good user too for the money. So you need a knife that can do pretty much everything and maybe double as a little defensive tool. Ooh. Gotta be careful when I talk about that. I don't want to get kicked off YouTube. Yeah, this knife pretty much can do it all. Let's get the specs out of the way. Weight is 4.25 ounces. Blade length, 3.75 inches. Handle length, 4.75 inches, making the overall length 8.5 inches. The blade steel is 8CR13 MOV. We have a satin finish. It is full flat ground. Pocket clip is swappable to all four sides. Tip up, tip down, left and right. It is a lockback. Comet-shaped thumb hole right there. Kind of mimics the bird eye, which is the whole bird theme to these knives. If you're not familiar, it's Spyderco's subsidiary, smaller, cheaper line of knives. Which is kind of funny, because Spyderco already kind of sells some more affordable knives. Look at the Tenacious line and the Astute, and there's a handful of others they're selling right now. They're pretty much the exact same handle materials. Same exact materials entirely, actually. They just have slightly different shapes, and their prices are similar, too. Once you start getting into, you know, their US-made stuff and the Mannix and their more expensive knives, that's when their prices really get up there. But if you're talking the more affordable stuff, it's just kind of funny to me because like Spyderco sells their knives that have almost the exact same shape and blade steel, handle material, etc., as their Byrd lines, which are also like the same price. It's just kind of funny to me. It's just they use the same blade steel. Like you'd think they'd go a step down to keep them even more affordable, but they pretty much just make them the same. But either way, this is a great knife. It's a cheaper version of the Endura. They don't have an 8CR13 MOV Endura or Endella or Delica, all the different size models, variations of that model. So if you like the Endura, but you don't really care for the VG10, you don't want to spend $95 or whatever it is, or $100 in some cases on those things, you just want something that's shaped the same, it's got that same performance, other than the blade steel, obviously, but everything else is pretty much squared away. It's got slightly different handle shape. We have an extra choil right here in the blade, which the Enduro does not have. If you don't mind that comet-shaped hole instead of the circle, pocket clip's almost identical. Pretty much is exactly the same. Almost everything else is going to function exactly the same, except for the blade steel. But the price is pretty much cut in half. These retail at $72.50, currently as of July 2022. You can get these for about $50 across the board. It's not cheap, but it's not expensive either. It would be cool to see this at like $40 or something, but it is what it is. Spyderco has raised their prices across the board past couple of years from what I understand, so it's just how it is. The lightweight version of this knife, exact same thing, only we have FRN handle scales instead of G10 handle scales. Everything else I promise you is pretty much exactly the same. Instead of like a steel backspacer, it also has an FRN backspacer. Those you can get for about $35, $36. Again, everything exactly the same, FRN handle scale and backspacer. Everything else is exactly the same. You save $15, $16. It's up to you. I can do a comparison video later, but right now this is on the G10. $50 across the board. It's worth it. It's a great knife. It's a great user. Pretty much half the price of an Endura. And again, the current Enduras use FRN handles, not G10. They did sell G10 Enduras, or they do on and off. I don't remember the whole story of what Spyderco does with those things, but sometimes I think they're limited run. Maybe they do currently sell them. I don't know, but I know for a fact if they do sell those things, they're a lot more than the FRN Endura. Maybe it's just like $20 more. I don't know. I got to do my research more on that, but I can guarantee you the G10 Endura is a lot more than the regular FRN Endura. At least $20 or so, but so this has got to be pretty much compared to that one, not even the regular FRN Endura. Just keep that in mind. Ergonomics, it's comfortable. The main position you would hold this in is usually right here. We have like a wider choil, if you will. It's not really even a choil, just a cutout, I suppose, which dips into there. And then towards the end of the handle, we have a deeper one, and then we have a half choil right here, the deepest one, I would say, other than that one, which matches up. It becomes aligned with the blades choil, the half of the blades choil anyway, which is jimped. There's cutouts right there, so it helps lock your index finger right there if you wanted to choke up on it. You just pay close attention to the rest of where my large size fingers are landing. Nice jimping on the thumb ramp right there, although the shape of this, it's not quite the same shape as a typical Spyderco blade where they really sweep up. It almost looks like a circular cutout was made. This is not that way. It's almost like a line. It's almost like an S, a very, very unexaggerated S shape, which does not fit the tip of the human thumb very well, actually, so your thumb will kind of slip on there a little bit. Not a big deal. The jimping helps counteract it, but it's not quite as effective. It's not quite as ergonomic as it could have been in comparison to the actual Spydercos. So that is one hit I'll give it. I don't like this thumb ramp. It's kind of an odd shape, I think, but it is what it is. A nice finger choil right there if you want to choke up on the knife and do some shaving, do some whittling, precision work, so on and so forth. When I'm doing the whole opening up a package deal right here, I usually go into a position something like this with most of my knives. Is the index finger on the spine, score the tape, whatever. Main position again is going to be down here, so when I normally just grab the knife without even thinking, it's somewhere around here. You can scooch down a little further. I would not go any lower than this if you want absolute maximum reach. You can throw a lanyard on there if you want. So you have probably 3 different grips you can put this in conventionally anyway. Reverse grip carries just like this. Lines up with your thumb very well too. Comfortable in all positions. Very long too, again. 8.5 inch overall length on this thing, almost 9 inches. It's pretty long. A lot of edge, a lot of cutting edge to work with right here. Most tasks you're not even going to need that much, but you can do pretty much anything. You can like tie zip ties or rope around this, get a good amount of edge on there, making contact with it, so you can do single sweeps like that, cut through it. Again, it's going to be good for opening the whole package deal right there because of that belly. It's not a very extreme belly, but we have a nice tip right here for piercing, although it is not terribly acute. It's not really wide either. It's a good compromise for a decent sized tip. Kind of looks like it bevels downward a little bit too, as you can see right there, which is interesting. Good overall performing blade right here. Good for slicing, good for slashing. Doesn't necessarily excel at anything in particular, but it's pretty much good at everything. It's a jack of all trades knife. Comfortable, long, a lot of different positions you can hold it in. Very ergonomic as far as that's concerned. The different, again, like I just said, positions you can hold it in. Carries like a dream. This pocket clip is fantastic. A+, it's great. It carries a little low on the handle right there. Some people don't like how they have a lot of it poking out right there. They'd rather have a loop over clip or something because they want it more secure. I think this is just fine for me. It's just enough room. It's very easy to extract this out of the pocket, deploy it very quickly. Deployment is fast, very quick. So even for a lockback, which typically is a little slower than a lighter lock, you don't even typically need any wrist movement, which is also very good. Good lockup, no up and down. There is some side to side, but you can tighten it up. No big deal there. Very elegant, very flush with the steel liners in here, as well as this backspacer that has cutouts in there as well. As you can see, very interesting. They may have taken a wheel or something and just grinded through them. I don't know what the exact process is, but that's what it looks like. It's very cool. Aesthetic. Doesn't really do anything for grip, but that's cool looking. It's a nice little touch right there. I like it when companies do something to the spine of the handle. Skeletonized steel liners if you're into your lightweight knives. It is pretty aggressively skeletonized, as you can see there, which helps it lighten up just by maybe 0.2 ounces or so. It's not a lightweight knife for the size. Again, 4.25 ounces. Some people argue anything above 3.5 ounces for an EDC knife is heavy. I don't really care. Again, I've carried knives that are 11, 12, 13, 14 ounces, and I didn't give a crap. I didn't care. But some people do. You know, if you're carrying a lot of gear, every ounce does count. Understood. It's a little heavy, but it's not a heavy knife either. It's just could be a little lighter. Again, which is why they sell the lightweight. Cara Cara. So if weight's a big concern to you want to save a few bucks, but you like this design, go get the lightweight Cara Cara. Excellent knife as well. This one pretty much just wins as far as coolness factor goes. I think it just feels like it's more sturdy. It feels good in the hand, as they say in the knife reviews. I don't know, it just feels like a cool, high-quality knife because of those G10 slabs right there. It feels very flush and polished on the edges. Very good attention to detail for this knife right here. I'm actually pretty surprised. It just feels like a higher quality knife than it really is. And again, pocket clip is swappable to all four sides. If you do choose to dare put it on tip down orientation, it actually will carry a little bit lower in your pocket, which you could see as an advantage. As you can see, comparison from where the top of the screw to the pocket clip is. So, I do like this detail. I've mentioned this many times on a lot of, probably every Spyderco has this, but I like that little hole right there in the pocket clip that reveals the lanyard hole. But if you choose to swap it, it reveals the pivot screw, or I guess the pivot pin on this side, you could say. That's really cool, little attention to detail right there. Again, love the pocket clip, perfect shape right here. I like how it juts out, plateaus, then we pinch down. We have a good, decent amount of flaring. It's not really goofy or really obnoxious or obtrusive, but there's just enough flaring so you can get it in and out of your pocket with one hand with ease. I like that. It's just tight enough. It's not too loose that it's going to fall out. It's not too tight that it's holding on for dear life if you're trying to extract it. It's perfect. Perfect size. There's just nothing I would really change about it. Maybe other than color. Some people like the blackened clips. Yeah, maybe if it was a black Byrd, sure, that'd be cool. The crow. Pretty sure they sell a Byrd crow already. Maybe they don't. I don't know. Just some black Byrd. That would be pretty sweet. But it's more elegant looking. The polish, or satin finish, I should say, with the black just looks sweet. Classics are a classic for a reason. Good deployment, good lockup, smooth action on this thing. Decent weight, not too light, not too heavy. Good grip on here. Again, if you're used to the Spyderco Tenacious line, it's kind of like, I would say medium grip, if not medium lighter grip G10. It will soften with use. Lock back, we have that nice little indentation right there in the lock back, which just makes it a little bit more comfortable to disengage. I think the other idea is that it makes it harder to accidentally disengage it, but it's just not necessary. But it's a nice little attention to detail, makes it more comfortable to depress. Carries well, functions well overall. 8CR13 MOV blade steel. For this price, it is what it is. Not a great steel, not a bad steel. It gets razor sharp. If you throw a better blade steel on there, you're going to jump this up to closer to the Endura's price range, which is essentially what that is. Pretty much the exact same knife. Let's call this the G10 Endura real quick. That's got the VG10 blade steel on there, I believe. Much more expensive than this guy. Over twice the price easily. Almost probably 3 times the price, honestly, just for that blade steel on there. So if the blade steel is not really an issue for you, if you don't care to cut stuff all day long, you need to cut, and that's your only knife you have on you, you gotta cut stuff all day long, you're worried about it getting rusted because you're out in the snow, and you're dunking it in salt water, and you just need a really high quality blade steel that's just not gonna succumb to any of that, then go spend some more money and get a better blade steel. But if you're an everyday guy, you just carry it, even at your job or just everyday use, occasionally open up a package or cut a zip tie or something, the blade steel is just fine. Just fine by me. And the way Spyderco does it, it's razor sharp. It takes a very good edge. Doesn't hold it forever, but it gets back to its factory edge pretty easily if you know what you're doing with sharpening. I freehand sharpen and freehand strop. One last thing I'll say is the comet hole. It deploys very well because your thumb catches on the hole right there because it's straight down at a 90-degree angle the way they cut it in. So it's a very, very sharp hole in the blade right there. But I don't love that comet portion of it. I should say that little tail on there, how it's skinnier. It just doesn't really catch your thumb. I mean, it catches your thumb and it doesn't. It's kind of hard to explain. I would prefer a circle, but when it's kind of thinner like that, your thumb kind of gets like trapped in there, which helps and it doesn't help. I don't know. You have to get one in hand to kind of understand what I'm talking about. But anyway, that's pretty much it. There's not really much else to say. It's a great knife. It checks off all the boxes for EDC and even tactical use. Yeah, you need to whip this thing out quickly. You got decent grip on here, you have traction on it, you have reach, it's got a lot of length, you got a good enough, I mean, lockbacks in general are pretty strong locking mechanisms, especially compared to liner locks, but not that there's anything wrong with liner locks, just throwing it out there. It'll be a good defensive blade too, and it doesn't look particularly scary. Some people might say, ooh, big scary knife. I don't think it looks like a threatening knife. Something like this, just because I have it on the table right here, the Cold Steel Recon one, that looks a little bit scarier for some people. It looks like a combat knife, so to speak, but they can pretty much cause the same amount of damage. Let's just compare the length real quick if you have one. Almost the same exact length. Recon one wins just a little bit. Almost nothing though. So great knife. Overall, you can only buy one knife. You don't want to spend a whole lot, but you don't want something cheap. You want something that's going to last and be good at every situation. It's the Byrd Cara Cara. Now, would you get this one or the lightweight one? The lightweight, you save some money, and it's lighter. But this one is a little bit stronger as far as its horizontal strength goes. But then that also raises the question of, is that necessary? Do you need horizontal strength? You're trying to pry windows open with this thing or something? Why would you do that? I don't know. But it is stronger, technically. So a little bit heavier, a little bit stronger, a little bit more expensive. I think it's a little sexier, though. Like, it feels more flush, just feels more elegant. It feels like it has a nicer fit and finish than the lightweight. But the lightweight's a great knife, too. Anyway, that's it. That is the Byrd Cara Cara.